Welcome to Clinical Pen. We're glad you're tuning in. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and you can always find more at clinicalpen.com.
Today we're talking about something really fascinating.
Yeah, think about those, super high achievers, people like Elon Musk or maybe Kobe Bryant, David Goggins. You look at them and think, wow, they must just have this built-in drive, right? This amazing motivation.
Right. It seems almost like a superpower.
Exactly. But what if it's not just like innate talent? What if a big part of their edge comes from something, well, something much more down to earth, like how they start their day?
That's the really interesting idea we're exploring today, that maybe these morning routines aren't just, nice little habits. They could actually be the engines driving motivation.
Engines that seriously impact how well you perform all day long.
Exactly. So let's discuss this connection. Let's sort of unpack how those first few hours might be the key lever for finding and keeping your motivation going.
Yeah, let's try and pull out the really useful bits, the things you can maybe experiment with yourself.
Okay, but first, maybe we should touch on why motivation even matters so much. It's not just some abstract idea, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, you see studies everywhere showing it's crucial for hitting goals in school, at work, even for like understanding why customers buy things.
It really is the spark, isn't it? The thing that gets the wheels turning.
Definitely. But here's a question then. Is motivation just a feeling? Like being happy or sad, something that watches over you?
Or is it something more concrete, something you can actually build or influence?
Yeah, can you quantify it?
Well, it often feels like an emotion, right? You either feel motivated or you don't. But the perspective we're looking at is a bit different. It's just motivation isn't just a mood. It's more like a state that happens when your head's in the right place, you're taking specific actions, and you've got clear goals.
Yeah, and your environment plays a role.
And the choices you make.
Absolutely. They deeply influence it. It's not passive.
Okay, so it's less about just waiting for lightning to strike.
Yeah.
Right. It's more about actively creating the conditions for motivation to show up.
It's a dynamic thing.
Precisely. And that's why what you do first thing in the morning seems to have such a big impact. It really sets the stage.
It's not just starting the clock. It's laying down the tracks for your mindset, your energy, everything for the next, 12, 16 hours?
Yeah, it influences whether motivation flows easily or feels, stuck.
That makes a lot of sense. Like the first domino, it sets off the chain reaction for the rest of the day. Which brings us nicely to the first big habit we see with these really driven people, getting up early. And using that time to actually think about their goals.
Yeah, it comes up again and again. Waking up, say, before 7 a.m. It isn't just about bragging rights.
No, it's about carving out that quiet, uninterrupted time.
Right. You hear about people like Tim Cook at Apple up super early, or Oprah using those first hours for reflection, for setting intentions.
And it's not just about getting a jump on emails, though I guess that can happen too.
Sort of, that's a side benefit, maybe.
But the real juice seems to be in having that space, that quiet time to get clear on what you want to achieve, maybe review your bigger picture, and set some specific aims for the day.
And that act of focusing, it clarifies what actually motivates you, right? It gives your energy a target.
Yeah. So if you've ever found yourself thinking, ugh, where's my motivation gone? Or just feeling kind of adrift and unproductive lately.
Maybe look at your morning routine. Is that reflection time actually happening?
Wow.
Or is it just, grab coffee and dive into chaos?
It sounds like this habit really builds that mental readiness part you mentioned. Getting your mind straight before the day pulls you in a million directions.
Exactly. You're being proactive, not just reacting to whatever pops up.
And crucially, it's not something you're just born with. This is a skill, a habit you can build.
Yes, that's emphasized. It's like a muscle. You can strengthen it over time with practice, consistently.
That's good to know. It feels more achievable that way. Okay, so the mental stage is set. What's next? Physical action seems key. Exercising, moving your body first thing.
Oh, definitely. The physical side is huge, and it links directly to feeling energized and ready. Even something simple, like stretching or a quick walk.
It gets those brain chemicals going. Dopamine, serotonin.
Exactly. And they aren't just about feeling good. They're tied directly to inspiration, staying alert and having the capacity to keep going.
And we're not necessarily talking about like running a 10K before your first coffee.
No, not at all. It's about using movement for the mental and emotional boost. Think about David Goggins. He talks a lot about working out for discipline, for mental toughness, not just looks.
Right. Building resilience.
And the practical upside spills into everything else. Like if you're struggling to get motivated for a task, you're dreading Cleaning the house, maybe, or starting a big report.
Or studying for an exam.
Yeah, even just a short walk, especially if you can get outside, can make a surprising difference. It clears the fog, reduces that feeling of inertia.
And physically boosts your focus.
It does. So if movement helps create these good chemicals and clears the mind, does that mean the action itself can actually spark motivation?
That's one of the most interesting, almost backward ideas, isn't it?
It really is. We tend to wait until we feel motivated before we start something.
Right. I'll do it when I feel like it.
But this suggests acting first can actually generate the feeling you thought you needed beforehand.
So just doing one small thing, like putting on your running shoes or walking out the door.
We're doing just one push-up. It creates this tiny bit of momentum. And that little push is often where motivation starts to build.
Wow. That really flips the usual script. Action isn't just the result of motivation.
It can be the cause.
That's powerful. It breaks that paralysis of, I don't feel ready.
Exactly. You just start and the readiness kind of catches up.
Okay, so we've got the mental prep, the physical kickstart. What about the inner state? Mindfulness, meditation, journaling seem to be another common thread.
Yeah, finding that quiet space again, but this time for more internal focus or mental training, like Kobe Bryant using visualization and meditation.
And that wasn't just about relaxation, was it? It was a tool for intense focus.
Absolutely. Preparing for high-pressure moments, sharpening his mental game.
And the benefits aren't just about reducing stress, though that's obviously a big plus.
For sure. But these practices also seem to boost your ability to stay engaged, to pay attention which you need for any kind of deep work, and they build emotional resilience too.
Helping you handle the bumps in the road that can kill motivation.
Exactly. Those frustrations or setbacks don't derail you as easily.
Okay, and this might also help clear up something people get confused about. Inspiration versus motivation.
Oh, definitely. They often get lumped together. Inspiration tends to feel like that sudden flash from outside, right? A great idea hits you, or you see someone doing amazing work.
It ignites something.
Yeah, it shows you what's possible. But motivation, that's more the internal engine, the consistent drive to keep moving towards a goal. And it needs regular feeding, regular tending.
Which is what these habits provide, that regular cultivation.
Precisely. Inspiration might give you the spark, but motivation, built through these routines, provides the steady fuel.
One's the flash, the other's the slow burn needed to actually get there.
Well put. And these morning habits are all about building that sustainable internal fire.
Okay, what about keeping the mind itself active? There's also mention of, like, teaching yourself something new in the morning.
Yeah, stimulating the brain. Even just a short burst of learning, maybe reading a bit of a nonfiction book, listening to part of an informative podcast.
Or even just reviewing something related to your goals.
Right. It's like mental gymnastics. It wakes up your brain in a different way than just, say, checking emails.
And how does that link back to motivation, especially if you're feeling low?
Well, when your motivation is dipping, sometimes engaging your brain with something new, challenging it a bit, can actually re-energize you.
Why is that?
There seems to be this idea that our minds get real satisfaction from learning, from novelty, from growth. It taps into our natural curiosity.
And that keeps you engaged.
Involved.
Yeah, it keeps things feeling fresh and interesting, which fuels motivation. A stagnant mind feels sluggish.
Right? Totally. While a mind that's discovering feels, well, alive, ready for more.
Exactly. And this seems especially helpful for people in fields that demand constant learning and problem solving. You know, engineers, entrepreneurs, athletes maybe. It kickstarts that active, adaptive part of the brain.
Okay, this next one feels almost too simple compared to meditating or running.
Yeah.
But it's about accomplishing easy tasks right away.
Huh. Yeah, it does sound almost trivial, doesn't it? Just checking off a couple of really small, low-effort things as soon as you get up.
What are we talking about? Making the bed.
Making the bed is the classic example, yeah. Or maybe sending one super quick, easy email. Reading just one page of a book. Things that take virtually no willpower.
Exactly. The point isn't the challenge. The power is in the simplicity and the immediate sense of accomplishment.
Okay. So finishing even those tiny things gives you a little boost.
A little jolt of confidence, yeah. It builds these tiny pockets of momentum.
Yeah.
Energy.
It's like scoring a quick win before the day's real challenges even start.
That's a great way to put it. And it loops right back to that idea we talked about. Action causing motivation.
Right, taking the first step.
Yes. Even if that step is just smoothing the duvet perfectly, it's action. And that action creates a tiny spark, making the next action feel a little less daunting.
Especially on those days when you really don't feel like doing anything.
Exactly. It trains you to act first, feel later. It builds this positive little feedback loop. Small action, small win, bit more confidence, bit more energy for the next thing.
Creates intentional momentum right from the get-go.
You got it.
Stepping back a bit, all these habits we're discussing, they really seem to reflect some core ideas from, the psychology of motivation. Thinkers like Maslow, Hertzberg.
McClellan, too. They all talk about how your environment, your mindset, having clear goals, they all weave together to shape motivation.
And these morning routines seem to hit all those points, don't they? The environment of quiet time, the mindset shift from reflection or movement, the clarity from goal setting.
They really do align, and it helps address some common questions people have about motivation, too, like, are desire and motivation the same thing?
They feel pretty close, like wanting something and you being driven to get it.
They're related, for sure, but the distinction often made is that desire is maybe the deep wanting, the determination for the big goal, wanting to be a great musician, say.
The long-term vision.
Right. Motivation, then, is what helps you actually take the first step towards that desire, picking up the instrument today and then tomorrow.
So desire keeps the dream alive. Motivation fuels the daily steps to get there.
That's a helpful way to think about it. Desire is the destination marker. Motivation is the fuel in the tank for the journey.
Okay. What about negative motivators, like fear, stress? Can they work?
Oh, absolutely they can work, short term. Fear of failing a test, the stress of a looming deadline that can definitely provide a powerful kick to get moving.
We've all been there.
Right. But the consensus seems to be that relying on that kind of motivation isn't healthy or sustainable. It leads to burnout.
So positive, consistent routines are better than those panic-driven bursts.
Much better for the long haul. They build resilience, not just reaction to pressure. Like, the deadline might make you cram all night.
But the morning routine helps you put in the steady work over weeks, so you don't have to cram.
Precisely. Another question is ability versus motivation. You need both, obviously.
Yeah, you can be super motivated, but if you can't actually do the thing.
True. Ability is crucial for execution. But motivation is often framed as what's needed just to start using or even developing that ability.
Ah, it's the ignition.
Kind of, yeah. It gets you to the starting line so you can begin the race, use your skills, or practice to build them. You need both, but motivation often comes first chronologically.
And is motivation stable? Like, once you find it, are you set?
Not really, no. It naturally ebbs and flows. Life throws curveballs, energy dips. That's exactly why a solid morning routine is so valuable.
It provides stability.
Yes, a reliable launch pad. So even if you wake up feeling totally unmotivated, the routine helps you bypass that feeling and just initiate the action anyway.
That sounds an awful lot like discipline.
It is very closely linked. Often when people talk about motivation versus discipline, they might be talking about the same underlying drive.
The drive to act towards a goal.
Exactly. But the insight here is that you can make that discipline feel less like a chore, maybe even make it easier or more enjoyable by embedding it in those first morning hours.
It stops being this grim duty you have to force.
And starts feeling like a powerful, positive way to begin. A preparation.
Changing the whole frame, that's huge.
And that preparation matters because, as we've seen, that initial motivation, that first push, really sets the trajectory for everything else. If you don't start, nothing happens.
So bringing it all together then, the early start, the goal focus, the movement, the quiet reflection, the learning, the small wins.
Yeah.
The big takeaway is pretty clear, isn't it?
Seems to be. That finding motivation for whatever you care about, school, work, personal stuff, it really starts with how you design the very beginning of your day.
It comes down to building one good habit, making one conscious choice first thing, having that focused morning.
So if you're ever wondering, how do I get motivated for X? Maybe the best practical advice is stop worrying about the feeling of motivation.
And focus on the actions of your morning.
Yes. Build a pattern you can rely on. Shift your mindset to. Act first and let the motivation catch up.
And then pay attention, right? Notice how things start to shift your energy, your focus, as you take control of those first couple of hours.
Yeah, it's not about perfection every single day. It's about creating that supportive structure, that environment that encourages your internal drive.
Okay, so to wrap things up here, it's pretty powerful to think about intentionally designing the start of your day based on these ideas.
It really is.
That first step you take, literally or figuratively, after you wake up, it really does set the momentum for what comes next.
It's a key leverage point, a place to regain a sense of control.
So if motivation isn't just something you wait around for, but something you actively construct through your environment and your actions, Here's maybe a final thought for you listening.
What's one small, deliberate thing you could choose to do first thing tomorrow morning?
Just one thing. To intentionally create that first spark of momentum for your day.